Good morning and good evening, my YouTube family and friends. Welcome to another video on the Nintendo Switch, and today it's going to be on the Nintendo Switch Lifetime Sale. My name is Phoenix198720, and I'm here to present a tiny video for you guys. Nintendo has been a company that has its ups and downs when it comes to console sales. Each time Nintendo puts out a console, you need to consider what time it was released versus what the consumer wanted. Over the years, and I mean years, I'm talking about over the decades, and what Nintendo has done and the reason they have done the way they've done things. We saw the Nintendo versus Sega era. We saw the Nintendo versus Sony in Sega era. We saw Nintendo versus Standard Definition. We saw Nintendo, Sega, Microsoft, and PlayStation. We saw Nintendo versus Microsoft and the PlayStation. We saw Nintendo versus High Def, Nintendo versus Microsoft, PlayStation, and the streaming service. And we also we have seen Nintendo versus the 4K. So I'm going to give you a little history rundown on Nintendo console sales per console. We're going to start with the NES system. The NES system was an 8-bit system, and it was released in Japan in 1983. Total lifetime sales for that console at that time was 61.91 million units worldwide. The second system they have is the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which was a 16-bit system, and that was released in 1990. And the overall worldwide sales, right, Mario, is 49.10 million units. That's still a lot, and they were competing for higher grounds with Sega at that time. And then we got the old mighty Nintendo 64, which had a 64 megabyte in it, and it was released in 1996. Yeah, and the lifetime sales for that console was 32.93 million units. At this time, Nintendo was going against Sega and PlayStation, so the competition started getting steep. What was offered? Nintendo was still using cartridges at this time, versus Sega, who was released the Sega CD, which was CD. PlayStation was on CD, but PlayStation offered CD player in it to give you more, to give the consumers more, as Nintendo stuck with their cartridges. The Nintendo 64 did get an add-on later on that was only released in Japan, which was called the Nintendo 64 Dual Disc, which allowed disc games to be played, but due to the poor sales in Japan, it never got a worldwide overall release at all. So Nintendo did step up their game when they released the Nintendo GameCube, but at the same time, they were fighting against full-size discs, and they thought, well, if we use a small disc, maybe the world's going to go this way, or like the Sony PlayStation 2 that had a DVD player in it, if it was going to go the opposite way. The world was undecided at that time. But the GameCube was released in 2001, and the lifetime sales for the GameCube was 21.74 million units. So Nintendo did started seeing a pattern. So with the small disc they used for the GameCube, developers were continuing to push away from Nintendo onto the PlayStation 2, the Xbox original, and the Sega Dreamcast, which unfortunately was Sega's last home console release. Now, their next system, when they realized that the GameCube wasn't going to be the pack punch, they came out with the Nintendo Wii to a standard DVD size that we all have, and unfortunately they went with optical drive instead of the DVD drive. so developers had a little bit harder time. But they also made, it was their first console they made backwards compatible, where you could put in the GameCube disc. So you, with Nintendo Wii, you had the Wii, and you also had the second system inside it, GameCube. It had the ports on the side, everything like that, and they took off. Holy macaroni! They sold 101.63 million units with the Nintendo Wii, which put them right up there as their top selling console. So Nintendo got something right. They made the system backwards compatible and also family fun. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of adult games, teenager games on that system, a lot more than what people realize. But at the same time, they were looking at a whole entire household. How to get mom and dad interacting with grandma and grandpa, or cousins that come over with their kids, have game night. And their next system was the Nintendo Wii U, which introduced a tablet as the second screen or the main screen as a controller. But the problem with the Wii U, what's the problem? Was marketing. They marketed it wrong, because if you go back to the original Wii U trailers, you see the gamepad that they have, but then you see the Wii remotes. They were trying to play off the name, but unfortunately, because of poor marketing, people thought the Wii U was just an add-on to the Wii, not a separate system. And that's when we saw on the Wii U, Nintendo jump into high definition, but with optimal drive, which developers were having a harder time to develop games, because it pretty much was a Nintendo Wii, just with the gamepad as the first player controller. There wasn't really much advantages. It was backwards compatible, so again, they were running two systems inside of one. And what we got next? We got the Nintendo Switch, which was released in 2017, and the current sales, and still growing strong, is 61.44 million units, and that system is still going strong today. And it's interesting because Nintendo decided to go back old school, and they went back to cartridges. Each cartridges can fit up to 64 gigabytes of data on them. Now, a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of developers are going the cheap way and buying the 32 gigabytes cartridges because it's cheaper. Don't blame it. If the game is too big for the cartridge, you can download it. Instead of taking its time using, because if you're going to move 20 million copies of your certain game, you will make up the price difference. But it comes to glee on developers' parts, but the games that they're putting out for the Nintendo Switch is definitely boosting their sales. Now, on my next page here, I have the Nintendo Switch software top sales since the system first came out in 2017. These are the top 10 games sold for Nintendo Switch. Oh my, there's a lot of games. I know, Mario. It's a lot, ain't it? Coming in at number 10 is the new Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which actually was a game on the Nintendo Wii U that was remastered, ported with all the DLC that they came out with it at that time on the Wii U, and was released January 11, 2019, and the game has moved 7.44 million copies. Today's world, anything that doesn't push over 1 million copies, it seemed like a failure in the gaming industry. Well, it's pushed out 7.44 million copies. Coming in at 9th is Splatoon 2, which was released July 21st, 2017, which the game pushed 10.71 million copies. And they do the Splatoon Fest and the Splatoon 2 tournaments online all the time. So if you like a fun first-person shooter, but without the first-person shooter bloody graphics, Splatoon 2 is definitely the game to go for. It is fun. It doesn't have your gritty Call of Duty feel to it, but it's just fun. I can't explain it in words. Download the demo for it, try it out yourself. You will enjoy that. And go to your retailer near you and get yourself a copy. Coming in the 8th is Super Mario Party, which was released October 5th, 2018, which has sold 10.94 million copies. And they seem to get this one right, because Mario Party 9 and 10 wasn't that fun for the family. This one gives you fun, it's motion, you use your Joy-Cons for everything, and it's just gritty, dirty fun. So if you have a wife that's very competitive, watch out, guys. She's coming for your leg. And coming in 7th, we got Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, with combined sales of 12.2 million copies, which was released November 16, 2018. And it's a tribute to the old school Game Boy games, Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. It gives old school gamers a refreshment of their childhood games, but also brings in a whole crowd of new school gamers that were playing on the Pokemon Go series on the mobile app. Coming in 6th, it's me, it's Mario Odyssey, which was released October 27, 2017. The game has sold 18.06 million. That's a lot. That's a big jump from 7th to 6th. And then we're going to work on our top 5 here. Coming in at 5th is Pokemon Sword and Shield, which was released November 15th. And the game has sold 18.22 million copies. As you can tell, that game came out about a year after Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and it's doing well for itself. It's showing that the interest is picked up. It's picking up steam. It's going. Now, a franchise that seems to be one of the greatest franchises for Nintendo altogether, coming in 4th is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It was released March 3rd, 2017, and the game has sold 18.6 million copies. It's the highest selling Zelda game to date. Now, we got this masterpiece, a crazy masterpiece, which I never thought I'd see, is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. That is the museum. That is everything of every Super Smash Bros. Games, all the characters, all the stages, plus added DLC with more third-party characters being introduced in the series. It has a huge RPG campaign into it, so it gives you that feel. You rescue, you build, you save characters. It's just crazy. And online for it is nuts because the competition is killer. You can play that with a GameCube remote. If you get the special Nintendo Switch GameCube remotes, you can buy a GameCube adapter to hook up your old school ones. You can buy that with your Nintendo Switch Pro controllers. Heck, you can play that with the Joy-Cons. It's got many different ways to play, and it's moving. And it moved 19.99 million copies, and it was just released December 7th, 2018. And Super Smash Brothers does multiple competitions a year. So coming in second, which actually surprised it made it in second, since Animal Crossing New Horizons was just released this year, March 20th, 2020. The game has sold an astonishing 22.4 million copies. So we have April, May, June, 3 months and 2 weeks that game has been out, and it's moved 22.4 million copies. Holy moly. And coming in first place, hey, it's a me again. No, it's a me. Is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which was released April 28, 2017. And the game has sold hugely amount of 26.74 million copies. Now you're probably going to come at me and say, well, Grand Theft Auto 5 is sold more. But Grand Theft Auto 5 came out on PlayStation 3, or Xbox 360, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and now it's being re-released again on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series 5. So you got 3 generations of the same game over again. We got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's been out for 3 years now, and it sold 26.74 million. What are those guys' sales after 3 years? Probably not as much. So we know this competition is stiff. Trust me, I play a lot online for the Mario Kart 8, and it's crazy fun. It's a load of fun. And these are the stats and sales currently of June 30th, 2020. I'm not making these numbers up. This is what Nintendo released. Now, if you like this video, hit that smash button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below, and stay tuned for my next video. See you next time. Let's go!